bring up the... Hello, I'm Connie Mason. It is July the 16th, 2015, and we're here at the lovely Corsound Waterfowl Museum and Heritage Center to speak with Mr. Ryan Davenport. We're going to talk about surfing community in Carter County. This interview is inspired by the Celebrating America's Community Spirit exhibit, which is being shown later here this month. And I want to thank you, Ryan, for coming, spending some time with us. We appreciate that. And you know, you're not a native of Carter County, so you got a different perspective of coming into this community of surfers. And just give us a brief idea about how this wonderful kid from Greene County comes to Carter County and gets involved.
Well, I was born in Greene County, which is a very rural part of North Carolina. And when I was 8 years old, my parents bought a little fishing trailer by Inward Isle Fishing Pier. And that summer, I sat up on the pier and watched the Heverly brothers, who they owned the pier at the time, surfing out there every day. And I taught my mother into renting a surfboard for me, and I've been addicted ever since.
Yeah, you sure are. You do almost every water sport, don't you?
I do. I started learning surfing, and then started kiteboarding and paddleboarding also.
Wow, and you scuba dive?
Scuba diving, free diving, spearfish.
Well, I don't know why you were doing so much inland. I mean, you belonged out here. Well, we want to show you in action. So we're going to show you windsurfing or kiteboarding, which...
Kiteboarding.
Kiteboarding?
Kiteboarding.
Okay. And this video is called Peter Lynn Kiteboarding on YouTube, and it's starring Ryan Davenport, and we'll be talking over that to let you know some of more information about the surfing community in Carter County. Now this is your windboarding?
Kiteboarding.
Kiteboarding. So I'm going to get it right. Now how do the numbers compare, kiteboarders to surfers in Carter County? Is there a lot of people?
In Carter County, there's probably 10 or 20 kiteboarders. Not quite as many as surfers, but yeah, the sport's definitely growing.
Well, do you have to be a surfer before you can be a kiteboarder, or does it help? Or?
It helps. You don't have to be, but it helps to be really familiar with the water, whether it's surfing or wakeboarding or just a good, experience in the water.
Mm-hmm. And right here, you're untangling the lines. It kind of reminds me of making sure a parachute is the lines are straight.
It's somewhat similar. The lines are 27 meters long, and we get them untangled to attach to the ends of the kite before we take off.
How long have you been kiteboarding?
I started in 1999. A group of us, a friend of mine moved back home from Maui and brought the concept with them. And that summer, about 10 of us got together and figured it out, and all learned how to kiteboard and been doing it ever since.
So, so it's really that surfing community that got together and said, "Hey, this is something new. Let's teach each other." And
exactly. The surf is not good every day, but in Carter County we have a lot of wind, so we just wanted to maximize our water time.
And so that's what you're doing here.
So we started kiteboarding to give us more days on the water.
And boy, it's really acrobatic. Look at that. Now, you told me one time that you don't do it quite as much because it's really hard on your abdomen and your
I started having a little back trouble, so I kind of laid off the extreme stuff a little bit. I just go out on the really good days now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that
it does take a toll on your body.
Now, this wonderful footage was shot by your lovely wife, Sarah?
Yes, this video was shot off what was the Sheraton Pier, which is now Doubletree by Hilton. And she was standing on the end of the pier. I think it was in December of that year when she was videotaping this.
Boy, it looked awfully rough out there. And you didn't have any competition for space, did you, in the water?
Not that day.
Now, as I understand it, behind the Sheraton, or where the Sheraton was, is what you call a break.
Right.
Tell us what a break is.
We try to kiteboard and surf and paddleboard where the waves tend to peel off the vest. And a lot of times in Carteret County, we don't have reefs. So we try to get by the fishing piers a lot of times where the sandbars are set up for the waves to break better on.
So the pier actually acts like a little jetty,
Correct.
and the sand builds up around it, and that's why it's so good. And that causes some friction between pier owners and surfers sometimes, doesn't it?
Yes, they'll call the police on us every now and then, and fishermen will cast lines at us. And I've been hooked through my wetsuit once, but luckily the barb didn't penetrate my skin.
Ooh, that would hurt. And so the wind and the tide has got to be just right for whatever passion you're going for surfing or kiteboarding or paddleboarding.
That's correct. You almost have to be an amateur meteorologist to figure some of these things out. We study weather models and figure out when the low pressures and the hurricanes are coming, so we can pick the best times to go out.
And you really do. I mean, we have another surfer in the office, and boy, when the wind is just right and the waves are swells are coming in just right at the right angle, you guys are gone.
Yeah, we do have a little bit of leniency with vacation leave, but with our job and the conditions get right, they're not right every day. We tend to use those days for our vacation days.
And this is really a passion too, and an obsession, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Because what time were you out surfing this morning?
I think I paddled out at 5:45 this morning and made it to work by 8 o'clock.
Now that is dedication and passion, I'll tell you. Not many people do that, Ryan. Now, within the surfing community, you'll see surfers that are trying to paddle out and surfers that are coming in, on a wave. What's the etiquette for not running over somebody? I mean, how do you decide who gets a wave and that kind of thing?
Typically, the surfer that is closest to the critical part of the wave has priority. And there is controversy in the water. Occasionally there's an altercation, but we try to work it out. But the person closest to the peak of the wave should have priority, and the person actually surfing the wave should have priority over other people who are paddling out. So
it's your responsibility if you're in the water and he's coming your way to dive under the wave, is that
correct?
right?
You should get out of his way.
Right. And hopefully you dive
deep enough.
Okay, that's good. Well, now we want to tell our audience that you're talking about some things here, and they'll be cutting back and forth. But we want to talk about. I wanted to ask you. Each community has different names for different things, and that are particular to that community. Like one of our words is mommocked. Son,
Right.
ain't I been mommocked this day? Is there a term in the surfing community of Carter County that might not be heard anywhere else?
Well, surfing, we use the one term is glassy. We want to surf on glassy waves. Typically, glassy means the wind is off the beach or offshore, and makes the waves break better. That's for regular surfing, but for kiteboarding, you want an onshore wind.
Mm-hmm.
So you want different winds for different sports. You want glassy waves for surfing and onshore winds for kiteboarding.
And how about there are lots of guys here, and I don't complain about that, but there are women surfers too, aren't there?
There are. There's some really good women surfers in the county. Beth Shub was the director of Eastern Surfing Association, very well known, and Mindy Ballou was a East Coast champion.
Mm-hmm. And we hope to have something about her in our exhibit, because she is very important to the surfing community and the basketball community too here. As local surfers, did you have any kind of feeling against tourists who come in to surf? I mean, is there any anxiety or hurt feelings or?
Some of that, but I try not to be involved with that. Tourism is a very important part of our community, and we respect the fact that they're here.
Now here's a fine example. This video is called Bombs and Barrels. Talk about different kind of nomenclature for things. What in the world is a bomb and what's a barrel?
Well, a bomb is considered a relatively large wave, and a barrel is actually when you're in the tube, riding through the tube of the wave. This particular day was filmed off the Outer Banks of North Carolina at Pea Island. The wreck you see in the background is a shipwreck called the Oriental.
And that's the one that the community is named after.
Correct. So the shipwreck acts as a pier does in this instance to collect the